News tonight from Argentina. Officials there say Liam Payne, a former member of the boy band One Direction, has died after falling from the third floor of a hotel in Buenos Aires.
We saw Liam fall, being able to see it happen and then hear the impact on the ground, which was more haunting than seeing him fall.
Roger Norris, he was Liam's good friend who accompanied him to Buenos Aires. He is in the crosshairs of prosecutors now over alleged abandonment of Liam.
I went to the hotel 3 times to check on him. During that morning, he seemed tipsy, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Did you use drugs with Liam the first night you met him?
Yeah, there was.
What drugs did you use?
Cocaína. There was cocaine.
Are the people they're going after, the way you see it, perpetrators or scapegoats?
It sounds kind of like both in some respect.
Everyone sees me in a bad way. They see me as the murderer, so to speak. And I'm not. I'm also the victim. They want to take me for a ride, they would say here in Argentina.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Saved my life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, hasn't gotten easier.
I haven't said goodbye to Liam yet, but I will eventually.
We just broke a story that is going to be very upsetting for millions and millions of One Direction fans. Liam Payne has died at the age of 31.
Officials say the British musician fell from the balcony at a hotel in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Evidence suggests the singer was going through a substance abuse episode and may have been semi or totally unconscious when he fell from a third-floor hotel balcony.
Overnight, crowds gathering outside the hotel, singing his songs in mourning.
Authorities say Payne had traces of alcohol, cocaine, and antidepressants in his system when he died.
One person has now been charged with abandoning Payne after his death. Another person was a hotel employee who allegedly provided cocaine to Payne. Authorities say the third is a drug dealer.
A horse-drawn carriage topped with white roses accompanied Liam Payne into his funeral yesterday, where all the remaining members of One Direction were there to say a final goodbye.
There was raw emotion as Simon Cowell, who created One Direction, wept on the shoulder of Liam's father.
I'm Brett Watson, and I was a guest at the Casa Sur Hotel Palermo and was there the day that Liam passed away. We were down there for our wedding to get married, and a lot of our wedding party He was staying at the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel with us. Numerous guests of ours had interacted with him or had seen him throughout the day. He was very pleasant, and they were able to take pictures with him.
I'm Roger Norris, and I'm a very good friend of Liam's, and I was with him the day that he passed away. He was in good spirits. He was like talking to 10 or 15 Americans that were here for a wedding. And so he was talking to them, and he was joking around.
as the morning became the afternoon, that's when some of the people started to notice that his behavior was a little bit off. He was saying some things that made a few of our guests uncomfortable, and they said that he did start to show signs of intoxication throughout the day. One of our wedding guests did have a meaningful conversation with him. He told her that the reason he was so up was because he was in a boy band, and just saying these things that it didn't really make sense or fit the context of the conversation.
I left like at 4:05 or so, and he was in good spirits. He was perfectly balanced, like talking to everybody, having fun, laughing. So nothing out of the ordinary. And that's when I said, okay, bye.
So you left him about an hour before he fell off that balcony, and you say he seemed fine.
Yeah. Well, he seemed playful and happy.
Well, that's Roger Norris's account, but it's wildly different from what others say they observed.
Our guest witnessed Liam laying on the sofa in the lobby. This is probably right around 4:30 p.m. And as he was there, he was just lying pretty docile on the sofa or the couch in the lobby. Wasn't necessarily coherent. He definitely looked like he was under the influences, according to our guests. But at this point, he hadn't really become aggressive or hostile at this point. Apparently, something came in on his computer, and they describe it as something, and Liam just kind of flipped. He went from laying down pretty sedentary to just stood up really agitated, and that's the point where he slammed his laptop on the ground and said something along the line. Lines of this, and then I just saw all the guests kind of shook in shock of what had just happened. He was conscious at this point, and they had said that the hotel was trying to prevent him from coming back down to the lobby because, according to them, and what they had sort of heard the hotel say, is that Liam had been trying to, come back down to the lobby multiple times after being sent up, and they were trying to, prevent him from coming down to the lobby and what I assume causing additional scenes. About 15 to 20 minutes later, after Liam had been brought back up, we saw Liam come back down into the lobby. Eventually, he got to the point where he either tripped or he passed out and ended up falling over one of the end tables in the lobby. And this is when he started twitching on the ground. From what I could see, it looked like he was going in and out of consciousness, not very lucid at all. At this point, the hotel staff had rushed over to him. Looked like he was overdosing on something. We did see the group of people around Liam getting him into the elevator. And this all happened about 10 minutes before he ultimately fell.
Mi nombre es Daniel Salinas.
My name is Daniel Salinas. I'm the therapist masseuse in Buenos Aires that came out in the picture with Liam Payne.
Lo que hicimos cargar. Después vino una chica.
Well, we picked him up, and a blonde girl employee told us to take him to the room. It looks like he was having a psychotic episode.
Estaba como convulsionando.
He was convulsing, foam out of his mouth.
El momento cuando se paró, fue que ellos lo invitaron.
There was a moment when he stood up. They took him through the hallway. He was trying to go somewhere else, but they were guiding him. I didn't go into his room, but I saw it was a mess.
What is the last image that you have of him in your mind?
He was lost. He was standing, stepping on glass. That was the last image that stayed with me.
I was meeting our wedding planner. We had gone up to the room. We happened to be looking out of the window of our hotel at the pool and area just to show her the view from the hotel, and we saw Liam fall.
So he had gone from the third floor where he fell and came down and then past your room on the first floor and then fell to his death.
Yes. And so we immediately rushed out on the balcony to see what it was. And when we looked down, you could see that it was Liam laying on the ground. He landed face up. So we could tell right away that it was Liam, and he was motionless.
It seemed that he died on impact.
I don't have a medical background, but from what I saw, it looked like he passed away immediately on impact. So time really, after we saw this, time sort of stopped or really slowed down immediately. Afterwards, our wedding planner and myself just looked at each other just to see, like, oh my God, this is real. This actually happened.
Brett, I gotta say, as I listen to you, I can hear emotion in your voice. That must have been gut-wrenching for you to see.
Yeah. It's one, it's just seeing anyone fall like that is heartbreaking, but being able to see it happen and then hear the impact on the ground, which is more haunting than seeing him fall, and then seeing the immediate aftermath. It's It's something that it's been burned into my brain and something I'm never going to forget. And still working through, just trying to process and understand everything that we saw.
God, I am so sorry. And this was on your wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you not hear? Why can't you hear?
Tu uso drogas? Did you use drugs with Liam the first night you met him?
Yeah, there was.
¿Qué drogas? What drugs did you
I
use?
can hear in my headset.
It was cocaine.
Was it cocaine the first night or the second night?
That's the second night, sir.
2 escorts show up to Liam's room. They say they had sex with him, but when they asked for their payment, $5,000, Liam didn't have the cash, and he became enraged,
So I've been talking all
punching
this
the
time and
TV
no
3
one's been
times
hearing me.
and
Excellent.
destroying his Rolex.
TMZ's Liam Payne, who's to blame?
I'm gonna go hang out with my good buddy Roger, who's really been helping me through some tough times.
Roger Norris, he was Liam's good friend who accompanied him to...
Okay, so I was talking this whole entire time and no one heard me. Great. You should have flagged me up and gone, can't hear anything. Why is it paused? Like, are you talking? Because I just shouldn't have to be on stage to be heard either, to be honest. But anyway, I mean, basically what I've said is there's some weird stuff going on here. Brett is being a bit odd. Brett is trying to stop himself from smirking. They're trying to fix things. They're trying to get things, I think, trying to meet the public's expectations by trying to come up with a reasonable answer. And it's just not, as they try and do that, the versions change and then people are more confused and nothing makes sense. Nothing makes, nothing makes sense. But it's really difficult, isn't it? And then I said about the wedding, like, if you'd witnessed this horrific incident and you're claiming that it's really traumatized you, would you want your wedding to be blacked by this? Because that was how I would see it. Like, oh my God, this is where we're getting married and I've just witnessed Liam Payne fall and die from a balcony, heard the thud, can't get that thud out of my mind. That's really affecting. I can't even enjoy my wedding. Would you not have postponed it? Would you not postpone it? So that was another question that I'd posed. It's a difficult one. And then obviously the fact that this is even going ahead, bearing in mind we have people in court and stuff. Yeah, normally if you see me pause it and you can't hear me, just yell in the chat and then I'll know, because otherwise I can't see and I won't know, and then then it just looks like nothing, doesn't it? I'll have to put a note on here afterwards.
Buenos Aires. He is in the crosshairs of prosecutors now over alleged abandonment of Liam. Liam's dad, according to the documents we've seen, claims that Roger was in charge of the care of Liam, knowing that Liam was in the throes of addiction. Roger, how did you come to know Liam?
We met through friends in London 4 years ago, around 2020, and we were opposites. I'm like a boring person who doesn't drink, do drugs, I don't smoke, never tried a drug in my life. And he was the opposite, but we were still friends. When he came in Argentina, he was like fully sober for like 12 days or so. And he was in a good place and getting better.
Prosecutors say Liam was crazed when he got to the hotel Sunday night, just 3 days before his death. They say he went out looking for drugs and found them with the help of a waiter named Brian Noel Pais. That's Brian entering the hotel with Liam. Prosecutors are going after Brian for supplying narcotics to Liam.
My name is Brian. I'm 24 years old, and I met Liam at my restaurant. They say I'm the dealer, that I carried drugs, that I sold them, and the truth is that no, I didn't sell them.
TMZ has seen text exchanges from official documents, which make it very clear that Brian brought 3 grams of cocaine to Liam's hotel. Brian even sent photos of the white powder, according to prosecutors.
Which is a new picture, by the way, guys.
Did you use drugs with Liam the first night you met him?
Yeah, there was.
What drugs did you use?
There was cocaine. Like, there wasn't even a lot of it, but we had some with whiskey.
Was it cocaine the first night or the second night?
The second night, too. The second night, yeah. The soapbox and some aluminum foil was already there. Drugs scattered everywhere. I didn't even accept his money. Nothing. He wanted to give me his Rolex. I didn't accept it. I didn't accept anything. Just a drawing that he drew, which were part of my eyes, nose, mouth. He draws, I draw. I'm studying to do it, so I had drawings.
Fast forward to the day Liam died.
This was a normal day in Liam's life. He would be just doing stuff, and he would like be happy and hyperactive, and he would grab his computer and text people and call people.
Prosecutors say it was anything but a normal day.
We obtained hundreds of documents from authorities, which include dozens of photos and surveillance screen grabs.
These documents outline what Liam was doing in the hours before his fatal fall. 10 p.m. the night before the fall, Liam orders 4 bottles of whiskey. 6:36 a.m. the next morning, he orders 5 more bottles of whiskey. 7:03 a.m., Liam texts Roger, "Dude, I think I'm going to a hooker." 9:32 a.m., Liam texts Roger, "Can you get 6 grams?"
Sometime after 10 a.m., Roger comes to the hotel, has breakfast with Liam, who orders whiskey. While they're at breakfast, the maids come to clean the room.
That's because Rogelio Norris is such a good friend to Liam that he, authorized everything allegedly and had breakfast with him. He was a good friend. Pat him on the back for that one.
And find white powder.
11:30 a.m., 2 escorts show up to Liam's room. They told prosecutors they had sex with him. And when they asked for their payment of $5,000, Liam didn't have the cash.
He became enraged, punching the TV 3 times and destroying his Rolex.
Really has a
2
type,
p.m.,
doesn't he?
Liam tells a hotel employee, "I'm going to need another 7 grams for today."
Around 3:30, a hotel.
And none of this makes sense because he's allegedly having all these rugs, but the autopsy up to 2 hours before, or 2 hours from when they did it, it was 2 hours from when they did it, show that he had traces. And if he's having that much in that short period of time, including the alcohol. Now, according to Brian, all this stuff that we can see on the screen, that was already there, which might explain why he had the traces of the stuff and not big amounts of it. But from this timeline, you've got to be thinking, well, surely there would be more. There would be more. And traces with everything that we're being told, something's not right. Something's not adding up, and that's why it doesn't make sense. And because we did hear about a potential head injury somewhere down the line, did he bang his head prior to going up to being put in his room? Is that why he passed out?
Employee delivers cocaine to Liam at the hotel.
3:45, Roger comes back to the hotel and pays for the escorts.
Yeah, he ain't no friend.
At 4 o'clock, a hotel employee says Liam is visibly under the influence. 4:04, Roger leaves the hotel.
That's a new one that I've not seen.
At 4:15, a housekeeper reports she hears Liam smashing things in his room. 4:26, Liam goes down to the lobby with a laptop and a bottle of whiskey.
Sits down, then smashes his laptop and collapses.
4:30, he's escorted back to his room by hotel staffers. 4:50, Liam goes back to the lobby, almost unconscious on the elevator floor when the door opens.
He gets up, sits down in the lobby, then passes out and collapses on the floor. A few minutes later, 3 hotel staffers grab Liam by his arms.
And that's not what Brett said, is it? Because what Brett said was that first of all he was getting to the point where people could see he was visibly impaired and that he was sat there almost out zonked, and then all of a sudden he jumped up. So this timeline isn't making sense from what Brett Watson is saying. Because then when he gets up, he's either fell or he's passed out. And I've said this previously, that when you pass out, you pass out. It's very different to falling and cracking, falling on the edge of the tape, So did he fall or did he pass out? They're two different things, and they would be very clearly different. Something's not right. It's not adding up,
And legs to take him back to his room. He regains consciousness when he reaches the 3rd floor and is escorted inside. Staffers remain outside the room to make sure he doesn't leave again.
5:01, the hotel's guest relations manager calls 911.
5:07, Liam falls
I
to
thought
his
there
death.
was 2 calls to 911. There was allegedly 2 calls to 911, and in one of the calls you can hear someone in the back saying take him upstairs or something. They've only talked about that one 911 call. So are you telling me from the 911 call it took them 6 minutes to get to this hotel? They must be doing it Argentinian style, like, oh, well, yeah, okay, we hear it's an emergency, we'll get there in our fastest time, but could take 11 hours. Jeez.
Roger Norris says, despite accusations of abandonment by authorities, he was a dutiful friend the day Liam died.
Disagree.
I went to a hotel 3
One in
times
the
to check
chat
on him.
disagree.
During that morning, he seemed tipsy, but nothing out of the ordinary.
The prosecutors say Roger had a duty to stick around whether Liam wanted it or not, which is why they want him prosecuted for abandonment, as well as allegedly getting drugs for Liam.
TMZ has now obtained just one bit of video, but a very critical piece of video from hotel surveillance.
It was recorded just 3 hours before Liam's death.
It shows him interacting with the hotel staffer who's been implicated in his death, handing him something from the elevator.
Prosecutors are going after that hotel staffer, Ezekiel David Pereira, for allegedly selling Liam cocaine and delivering it to him in this dove box. They want to charge him with supplying narcotics. We found him in a sketchy area of Buenos Aires, but he was in no mood to talk.
Hi, I'm sorry, I don't speak English.
There's little doubt he was trying to scale down the third-floor balcony to the ground to escape. He put on a hat, strapped his bag to his
You can
shoulder,
see blood on
and
the
then
floor.
took a leather bag and dropped it to the
So people
second-floor
questioning
balcony.
blood
The
splatter.
only reason why he would put his hat on is if he was leaving the hotel. Like that was him. That's what he would do.
Spectacular Tuesday on Fox.
And do you know what the most frustrating thing is about this? Right, we're watching this documentary, and I've just done a video and I've uploaded it on my TikTok. Roger Nores has had a lot to say in this documentary, but the little weasel, the gremlin there, has refused to answer the court's questions. What is that about? If he's got plenty to say in this documentary, why is he not giving evidence in court? He said he's going to submit something in writing, but not actually answer the questions by the court. What the hell? Yeah, he did, didn't he? It's like Brian, he can't speak a word of English neither. But him and Liam apparently spent some time together.
Liam was clearly under the influence when he fell. The toxicology report shows there was cocaine, alcohol,
You're
and an
forgetting the word.
antidepressant in his system.
You're forgetting the word trace. Right.
The medical evidence that I've read says that when you combine alcohol and this antidepressant he was on, it can create kind of a magnified effect.
He's agitated, he's intoxicated, he's escalated, and he's making choices that are just poor.
This guy done my head in. Blame Liam.
The fatal poor choice was after Liam was taken to the room the final time. There's little doubt he was trying to scale down the third-floor balcony to the ground to escape. He put on a hat, strapped his bag to his shoulder, and then took a leather bag and dropped it to the second-floor balcony. All of this shows Liam thought he could get from the third-floor balcony to the second, and then jump to the ground. But he lost his grip and fell to his death.
The only reason why he would put his hat on is if he was leaving the hotel. Like that was him. That's what he would do.
And there's also this. We have obtained these police photos showing what appears to be fingerprints slipping toward the edge of the railing.
Turns out escaping on balconies was Liam's thing. He had done it before when he felt trapped
But
in
do
a
they
room.
match Liam
A month
Payne
and a half before
fingerprints?
before this happened, he was up in Palm Beach with his girlfriend and bodyguard, and he got into a really bad argument with his bodyguard, who is a great guy, a good person, and he was just trying to protect him against one of those like craving episodes. And he told him to stay in the room. And Liam, he used a green garden hose to climb his way down.
He climbed off the balcony.
He didn't appreciate at all people telling him what to do. So the following morning, he fired his bodyguard after that episode, but he was bragging about his ability to climb out of his house.
Liam has said that one of the things that set him on a path of substance abuse was when he was touring with One Direction. He would go all over the world, and everywhere he went, he was a prisoner in the hotel room and couldn't really go out because fans would go crazy when they'd see him.
When we were in the band, the best way to secure us, because of how big it got, was just lock us in our rooms. And of course, what's in the room? Minibar. So at a certain point, I thought, well, I'm going to have a party for one. And that just seemed to carry on throughout many years of my life.
When I did start thinking about it, you know, being isolated in a room everywhere you go, it's almost like the pandemic when people became alcoholics.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And
people become
isolation
alcoholics?
is certainly a risk factor for drinking and using. And if you have the gene for it, then it can take off. And being further isolated and unable to really have any sort of consequence for what they're doing, it's on. He's made sincere attempt at treatment. He was in a 100-day program. He had a chemical dependency counselor and therapist. And they all said the same thing. They actually agreed with him on this, that this was a very fragile young man that really was in way over his head way too early.
In May this year, I was talking to his manager, and he told me that he was going through a lot, and he had like 2 episodes where he had nearly like OD'd, and he had been like checked into a psychiatric institution for 3 days, and he had to be resuscitated. So he was in a really bad place.
In the days before Liam died, something happened with his ex-fiancée. Something that may have triggered him.
Y'all don't even know what happens behind closed doors or in private. Ever since we broke up, he messages me, will blow up my phone.
Why use this little treasure in this?
Not only from his phone number, it's always from different phone numbers too. So I never know where it's going to come from. He'll create new iCloud accounts to iMessage me. It's always a damn new iCloud account. I'm like, every time I see one pop up on my phone, I'm like, here we go again. Also, not only me, but he'll blow up my mom's phone. Is that normal behavior to you?
A cease and desist went out to Liam. Again, this was about a week before his death, and many people think that these legal troubles are what was in his mind when he went on this drug-induced bender.
That's pure speculation, though, isn't it?
The fact that hotel personnel grabbed him and forcibly took him to the elevator and back to his room is not okay. And it's a tantamount to a kidnapping of sorts.
Are the people that...
That's about the most sensible thing in this entire documentary that we have heard. And that'll probably be, next to that they shouldn't have done it, will be the best thing that we've heard in this documentary, because the rest is all there just to tarnish, isn't it?
Going after, the way you see it, perpetrators or scapegoats?
It sounds kind of like a both in some respect.
Everyone sees me in a bad way. They see me as the murderer, so to speak, and I'm not. I'm also the victim. They want to take me for a ride, they would say here in Argentina.
There's news out of Buenos Aires this morning. Prosecutors there are weighing whether to charge 2 additional hotel workers in Liam Payne's death. The hotel manager and the desk receptionist who called 911 on the day Liam died.
It's not inevitable, but boy, is it knee-jerk common for prosecutors to immediately hone in on the drug dealers as far as trying to criminalize someone. Having said that, I'm not unsympathetic to the fact that the hotel bears an enormous amount of responsibility based on the facts we presently have before us.
The fact that hotel personnel grabbed him and forcibly took him to the elevator and back to his room is not okay. And it's a tantamount to a kidnapping of sorts. And the question remains, why that? Why did they want someone who's intoxicated and agitated in their room where they could hurt themselves? It's a very odd thing to do. It's not something you can forcibly handle by throwing them in a room. It doesn't make sense.
They put him in the room. Then, let's say 2 minutes later, they call 911.
Well, we've got a guest who has had too many drugs and alcohol. And well, when he is conscious, he is trashing the entire room. And we need you to send someone, please. He's in a room with a balcony. And well, we're a little afraid that he'll do something that puts his life at risk.
He probably told them, you guys can't look me up. I'm going to leave through the balcony.
They should not have taken him to his room, and they certainly should not have left him alone, and they absolutely should have gotten him to medical care.
I think a lot of people are going to have big, strong opinions about what should have been done, as in any situation. But if you were that hotel worker in Argentina and you are making a last-minute quick decision of what to do with someone in a dire situation, you're doing your best you can. They brought him up to his room, which probably in that moment seemed like the best thing they could do. I don't know that we should be so quick to pass judgment on people who were likely trying to remove him from the public and get him on his own so he could at least be
This guy is
separated
a
and they could figure out what to
douchebag.
do.
I think for anybody out there who is having a problem with mental health or something, and that
I really didn't like that guy. He's an a-hole of the biggest kind. Like, yep, it's all Liam's fault. Like, yep. You know, they were just doing what they thought that they could do in the time that they, you know, blah, blah, blah. Instead of looking at the whole picture and thinking, well, wow, yeah, no, you shouldn't have done that. Like, you shouldn't have been manhandling that. And in an emergency situation where he's foaming. What kind of a word is foaming? Foaming at the mouth, where he's foaming away there. Of course, the right thing to do is put a guy that's, you know, in and out of consciousness, foaming at the mouth, yet just lob him on the 3rd floor and forget about him. Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Dude, you need to... Should not have been in this documentary.
that struggle it is, but the best thing is to just go and speak to someone. If you go through it by yourself, you're your own soundboard, and we're all just as crazy as the next person.
Are the people they're going after, the way you see it, perpetrators or scapegoats?
It sounds kind of like them both in some respect. I don't necessarily think that it's fair to say that these individuals are responsible for his death. However, when you have people that work at the hotel and they're supplying him with illegal drugs like the cocaine, you do start to get into that territory of they should have known better.
What's the difference between a hotel employee bringing cocaine up to the room versus bringing 4 or 5 bottles of whiskey up to the room?
Ultimately, I think alcohol is one of the most dangerous drugs in the world. And the fact that it's legal, for some reason, people view that differently.
There's Brian on his B-rolls, doing this little pose. He's a pretty boy, I guess, so they had to give him a pretty well.
Everyone sees me in a bad way. They see me as the murderer, so to speak. And I'm not. I'm also the victim. They want to take me for a ride, they would say here in Argentina.
So that wasn't a photo, that was a video. Interesting, Mr. Bond.
How do you say pen in Spanish? I feel like you're trying to make me say something weird.
Yeah.
The problem with Liam was he was a free man, and he was extremely smart. His family, even if they had tried, they could have never gone to a judge and start proceedings to incapacitate him. He would have peed in them alive. He would sober up just to win the fight.
There's a lot of blame that's being assigned around all of this. What do you think about when a friend is with somebody and knows about drug abuse? Do they have a responsibility to stop the person from doing drugs?
I would argue it's sort of an ethical responsibility of being a good person. But you actually can't do anything. You're not allowed to take people and bring them to treatment. They have to ask to be brought in.
What about the abandonment? My understanding from Roger's lawyer, the argument is Liam is his own person, makes his own decisions, and doesn't have to listen to anybody.
That's how it feels to me, if I'm being honest. It does feel like a scapegoat. You know, abandonment is Jafar Reach. If it wasn't his actual job, he wasn't contracted, he wasn't legally required to protect Liam from other people or from himself, Liam's choices cannot be Roger's fault. Ultimately, Liam is responsible for his own choices.
But if he was in charge of Liam's wallet...
for a long time. He was a long-term drug addict. He was doing drugs that are not typically associated with acute psychiatric disturbances. They can be, but it wouldn't be a reasonable expectation on the behalf of the friend that something terrible could happen here.
Yo pienso que quieren
I think they want to grab anybody and close the case quickly. Close the case quickly and give a quick answer to the family and not tell the truth. They don't want to do anything.
There's no question that, celebrities, when they come to a sudden and unexpected and tragic demise, that something has to be done to satisfy the public's interest in this case in having someone basically pay for the death.
People do look for scapegoats when someone they love, like a celebrity, has a bad outcome with alcohol and drugs.
On Fox.
I think, right now, there are a lot of questions and a lot of people want the answers, especially people who consume media, as to, how did this happen? Why did this happen?
¿Por qué tú pensando el gobernación de Argentina es...
Why do you think the Argentinian government is moving in this case with incredible speed? Is it because Liam is a celebrity?
I think they want to grab anybody and close the case quickly. Close the case quickly and give a quick answer to the family and not tell the truth. They don't want to do anything.
If you're in a prosecutor's office and there is a major death in your jurisdiction and it's a celebrity and you know that it's going to be covered by a lot of people over a long period of time, I think the first thing you go to in your playbook is, let's find whoever dispensed the illegal drugs or the prescription drugs or whatever they may have been and hold that person accountable.
Oh, that's very sweet. Saved my life. Oh, thank you.
Is it to avenge the death that the public wants and prosecutors kind of bend the knee to that?
There's no question that, celebrities, when they come to a sudden and unexpected and tragic demise, that something has to be done to satisfy the public's interest in this case in having someone basically pay for the death.
When it comes to celebrities and drug overdoses and the police perhaps favoring them and their cases over everyday people, I understand everyone saying this isn't fair. What about our family members? What about our loved ones? But there is a case to be made that if they attack the drug dealers, the people who ferried the drugs to Liam and others, maybe other people will try to avoid that line of work. And also, there are millions of One Direction fans around the world who want some sort of answer. They want some sort of justice. Whether it's right or wrong, I think prosecutors are trying to do something to give millions of people around the world some peace.
It's interesting from my seat that when you see a celebrity die, and there are drugs involved, or just people you think who are, had some responsibility, that there seems to be an outcry to avenge that celebrity's death and to find someone to blame. And this is an interesting one where you go after a friend and a waiter and a hotel employee. And it's kind of feeling like that here.
I completely agree that people do look for scapegoats when someone they love, like a celebrity, has a bad outcome with alcohol and drugs. In Liam's case, he had good treatment, sustained treatment, and actually made genuine attempts to embrace sobriety. That doesn't in any way guarantee a good outcome.
How much attention do prosecutors generally pay to media coverage of one of their cases?
I think a great deal. Most are discreet enough so that it's not overt, or they are willing to say that that's a factor beyond every case with private citizens who are nearly as high profile as celebrities. But yeah, it's impossible not to factor that into the equation.
Yeah,
Oh, there he is again. Brett.
it's tough. Like, even as the weeks have gone by since. It still hasn't gotten easier. It's something that I think about constantly, and I'm trying to work through.
And obviously, every time he has a wedding anniversary, Brett is going to be horrendously reminded of the horrendous thing that happened to Liam Payne, because, you know, it happened around his wedding. Even though if it's not exactly the same day, the whole thing would be marred. But the way you would think he's beside himself. His face doesn't say that. His face says something completely different. There's just something really fake about this guy when he is talking. But again, it could just be due to nerves, with the fact that he's being interviewed, and maybe he's not experienced or used to being interviewed in these types of ways. And the other thing I just wanted to bring up as well, which I forgot to bring up, was the fact that they said about the Rolex watch being smashed. Now, that was the first time that we've heard about this Rolex, that the Rolex being smashed, right? You've got to, like, they're saying the Rolex has been stolen, and then in the next breath in this documentary, someone sees that he smashed the watch up. That doesn't make sense.
And process what I see.
My moderate to severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. Now I have Skyrizi.
I've got places to go and I'm feeling free. Control is everything to me. Control is everything to me.
And now I'm back in the picture. Feels like.
There we are. It's really sad feeling, isn't it? Knowing what we know.
One Direction was the biggest boy band, the biggest British band since the Beatles. I just felt like everybody felt it to their core when they heard that news.
There will always be deaths. We will always lose people that we loved in the entertainment industry. It's always sad, and it always takes people a moment to process it. But when it's someone like Liam Payne, who was so young, and when it's someone that we didn't know was sick or on their way out, it's a tragic accident. It devastates people. And this one was especially hard. There's an entire generation of people who grew up listening to One Direction, loving those boys, and to lose the first one in his early 30s and in such a horrible way, this is going to stick with millions of people around the world for the rest of their lives. They will remember where they were when they found out about this.
I won't ever forget it. I was with my TikTok community.
Yeah,
There's Brett with a drink.
it's tough. Even as the weeks have gone by since, it still hasn't gotten easier. It's something that I think about constantly, and I'm trying to work through and process what I see. I don't know if I'm ever really going to be able to process that. It's surreal.
How upsetting was it to you that you weren't invited to the funeral?
The family can say whatever they want. It's really hard for them as well.
That's so kind of you, Roger.
So I say my own goodbyes whenever the time is right, and it'll come. I haven't said goodbye to Liam yet, but I will eventually.
So that was the documentary. I don't know. What do you guys think of this documentary? I feel this takes on this is Liam Payne's fault and nobody else's fault, and trying to patch up a story that's going to keep the public happy. I'm certainly, do you know what I mean? I believe he, I believe that we see he was manhandled. I believe that he tried to escape from that balcony, and I believe that he falls. I don't believe in him being brought there dead already or anything like that. Now it is possible, it is possible that the plot in Maya's book, which would be really dumb to write it in a story form, it's possible that they could have driven Liam knowing that this could potentially be the outcome, but they'd never actually really know for sure that he would, die as a result of that. Because he would have had to have had an accident. But people are saying that there could be a connection. I haven't read the book, but I'm not beyond thinking that, people could deliberately intend him to go off the rails, But my main belief is that he didn't want to be in that room. We can see that he was manhandled up into that room, but everything else around that is sketchy. The timeline is sketchy at best. Nothing makes sense. You've got Brett's version, and then what they're telling through the eyes of other people, and the timeline's just not quite right there. And all people really want is the truth. But the thing is, changing, going into today. So yesterday we learned that Brian Paez, Ezekiel, whatever his name was, Ezekiel Pariah, and they had their questioning in court, and their questioning lasted 3 minutes. 3 minutes. This is a death inquiry. They have been charged with their participation in some way, be it through abandonment or rugs. In this pair's case, rugs. And what they've done is the whole thing takes 3 minutes. He did hand a statement in, but still 3 bloody minutes. Now, let me just change this screen so you can see what I see. I mean, I don't know if, there is a possibility that there's people that are in with the sources that, that they just want to get this wrapped up, and they don't want it to damage the economy of Argentina, and they really just want this to go away as quickly as possible. And the prosecutor and the police, I'm not beyond thinking that there could be some kind of corruption behind the scenes to, on a very basic level, because no one wants this on their books. And if the hotel are friends of the prosecutors, anything like that could be the case, that they just want this to go away. But the thing is, we're not letting it go away, are we? Because we're going to talk about it. So Roger has had his interview, but as you can see in the title, the businessman accused of the death of Liam Payne has refused to answer questions from court. Why has he refused to answer the questions from the court? Why has he done that? So apparently he gave a statement and said that he would submit a written statement while the investigation of his phone continued, and that they were looking at the computer of Norris, and they were going to obviously see how they linked up, I'm guessing, to exclude, like, if Regilio's deleted anything that might be on the laptop and that kind of thing. I really think they're going for Regilio, but I do think they're also probably more so going for Brian. I think Brian's just a bit of a dumbass, to be honest. He's a pretty boy and he smiles a lot, and I think he'll say anything that'll get him out of trouble. But I don't personally feel like he, anything that he participated in was days before this happened, not on the day. So at the end of the day, if he had traces of the stuff in him, that makes sense to me. But then it doesn't make sense, does it, that they're trying to say he's had all this stuff. He's ordered it, he's bought it, he's took it, and all that sort of stuff, you know. So in some respects, that doesn't make sense to me, because the two can't be true, can they? You can't be on a minimal traces of substances in your system, but then having in that period of time, on according to that timeline, had all that alcohol and still be alive after the 9 bottles of whiskey. I'm not gonna lie, I mean, that's enough to take anyone out, that is. And that's without anything else. And so those two do not add up. But Rogelio, so the businessman Rogelio Norris, the main defendant in the case investigating the singer Liam Payne, refused to testify today at his inquiry. His defense stated via Zoom that he will present a brief in the coming days. He should have been held in contempt. Norris is one who accompanied Liam, his good friend. I don't think he's a good friend. I mean, it's weird that he apparently lived an hour away from where he'd dropped Liam to go and stay. Why was he not staying with him? And yet he did 3 trips instead of calling him up on his Moby and be like, yo, dude, how you doing? Just checking in on you. No, he got in the car. Why did he get in the car? You know, the hotel had his number to call them should they need him. But that's where we are. And so obviously he's the third person judge that Judge Laura Bruniard has now obviously attempted to speak with. And then obviously they've got Gilda Martin, the hotel manager, and Esteban Grazi, who made the 911 call, and they're going to appear via Zoom. And I haven't had any updates. I don't see any updates on those. And they're the ones that manhandled Liam back up to his room. So we're gonna have to just wait and see what comes out. I don't envisage hearing anything probably before Christmas coming back with an answer. They don't seem to move that fast, do they, in Argentina? But again, they're talking about this mental health crisis. The only thing that I'd say that really triggered his mental health would have been shoving him in his room when he didn't want to. And they asked the same question. It's the question we've got for Esteban and Gilda. Why did you not hold him in the lobby? If, you know, seemingly your dude has dropped you in it and said that he, you know, he was foaming at the mouth. So he needed an ambulance, not dragging up to the 3rd floor like. So we are going to have to wait for that now to see what comes in. Obviously TMZ are definitely spinning the narrative. I want to know how this is able to happen, given that Roger and Bry are charged. They're witnesses. Brett is a witness. Obviously outside expert opinions is one thing, and it's just like having commentary on stuff, isn't it? But how is this allowed to go ahead when this is an ongoing investigation? Obviously TMZ are very much behind it, and they are trashy. TMZ will always be trashy TMZ. And the fact that this was about a British pop star, and a lot of the British people wanted to see this documentary, and it's behind a paywall that you couldn't get hold of for love nor money, and then an angel came along and we've been able to access it and watch it. Personally, I think it was a very showy documentary. I think it aims to blacken out Liam some more and put another black mark to his name, blame this whole entire situation on him. Yes, Liam is responsible for his actions to a certain extent. However, there are other factors that must be taken into account. And the scary thing is this whole thing could be dropped and no one will get charged with anything. So we just got to hope and pray that, you know, the responsibility, I definitely think the hotel staff that manhandled him need something. And obviously, I think Roger is probably, I mean, obviously, if dealing drugs in Argentina is against the law and they've caught Brian red-handed dealing, although he says he didn't, he just shared them. He didn't want money. And again, we know that Liam's been trying to sell his or give his watch away for payment for many, many things. You know, he tried to give it away to the sex workers. He tried to give it away to bloody Brian. Next we'll hear he tried to give it away from Roger, and then he tried. You wait, that'll have been tried to being given to pretty much everyone. A broken watch at that, because it got smashed up, apparently, but it's also stolen. So nothing makes sense. Nothing in this case is making sense. The timeline isn't great. Brett isn't great. We have to take into account nerves, but still the situation ain't great. And why is Roger now holding silence? Silence is golden, eh, Roger? I thought you were a friend. Exactly, Stacey. That is what I've said. First of all, if he had been a risk, forget the foaming at the mouth point. He's deemed a risk, and they knew that because they said that on the 911 call. Well, we'll put the risk in on the 3rd floor with the balcony because we know that he's a risk. There's a question mark there. You're saying he's a risk, but you've put him at risk because you know he's a risk and you've locked him in his room. And then we hear from the masseuse. Well, he was foaming at the mouth. Yeah. Why was he not got he was convulsing. We've heard all that from the masseuse. That's different to twitching. According to Brett, he was twitching. So which is it? Was he convulsing or twitching? Twitching and convulsing are different. My dog has a little twitchy leg. If she sits funny, you know, she sits on her ass a bit funny, she'll just twitch and, you know. But if she had a seizure, I'd be able to tell the bloody difference. And so would anyone else. But yeah, he's foaming at the mouth. Choking hazard. He's in and out of consciousness. At that point, they said he was unconscious. Foaming, convulsing. And they just lock him in his room and they don't call an ambulance. What the hell? So the hotel are very liable as far as I'm concerned. Was Roger a good friend? No. No, he bloody wasn't. And the fact that he's refusing to talk at the moment, and yet talk on the whole entire documentary, what the hell? That shouldn't be allowed. He shouldn't be allowed to go on a documentary, talk, and then refuse to answer the court's questions. Like, what on earth? What on earth? So, guys, I just wanted to give you that update. I think Brian's probably been more, complicit in helping the court. I mean, their hearing was 3 minutes long. That's nothing in a case like this if they're being charged for something. Yes, they've handed written statements in, but still 3 minutes to answer questions. Just a time where the judge can look them in the eye and see if she thinks they're lying as well. And whether or not this is going to go any further. I just hope that this doesn't, because this documentary as well, obviously it reaches a lot of the US. It doesn't reach many people in the UK. I don't know if people in Argentina can access it. But if this then goes to court, I'm assuming that would be in the form of a trial like we would here. This whole thing's already out there. So does that guarantee them a fair jury of their peers? Absolutely bloody not, because they've seen this documentary. So that could tar anything going further. I honestly don't know how they've gotten away with doing this documentary when this is an ongoing, open investigation. But that's just my opinion. That's just my thoughts. There's lots of things that are wrong. And will we ever get the truth? As I said, I doubt we will, because really Liam is the one with the answers and he can't speak. He can't speak. So all we can do is just get the stuff that we're getting and share it and question these things and question their validity. Because if they're not valid, they're not valid. And if they don't make sense, we should be questioning it so that his family get answers as to what happened to their son. His fans get those answers because his fans want the answers. Like I said, I'm not a One Direction person fan. I'm covering this on the basis that, you know, Liam deserves the truth and the answers. And at the end of this, I probably will be a Liam fan, won't I? But I feel for everyone. I really do. But we are caught up now. We are caught up. This documentary hasn't done anything other than blame Liam and hasn't answered questions and has and thrown in some more bullshit in the mix, you know, some more stuff. So obviously, as I get more updates on the hearings, I'm particularly interested in the 2 hotel workers. I still think that the masseuse, he should get what for, because he's noticed that Liam's, you know, foaming at the mouth. I think for sure, definitely them and Roger. And if they want to charge Brian for having drugs or whatever because it's illegal, that's a different matter. But I don't see him in the same category because he wasn't there and participating in this on the day that Liam died. His participation was prior, which hence probably why he only had traces of the stuff in him, which meant that they were dwindling out of his system, and what actually happened to him probably came if he knocked his head when he tripped or passed out. Again, 2 separate things there. Tripping and passing out, you'd tell the difference. If someone tripped or they fainted, they would be different. So which was it? But that's where we are, guys. We are caught up. Like I said, I will keep you guys posted on any updates. I will be doing some videos on my TikTok just regarding this documentary, some of the things where I've had questions where I can snip it and then talk about it. So make sure you are following over on TikTok if you are not. And then we are going to be back again very soon, probably with another update on Liam Payne, probably with an update on the school shooter that we have just had, Samantha Rupp now. But I'm hoping that everyone was able to enjoy the documentary minus my commentary, which I was given, but apparently no one could hear me. The slamming of the doors is really not necessary in my house. Anyone else have teenagers? So I will keep you guys posted soon, and I will catch up with you. Hopefully we'll get some good news regarding the case and that some people are getting ongoing charges. That would be a good Christmas present. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up for me, guys, because that helps me massively. And make sure you check you're subscribed, because YouTube does unsubscribe you. And if you're not subscribed, do subscribe so you don't miss anything coming in the future. And if you know anyone that wants to watch the documentary, to send them this way, they can watch it if YouTube don't take it down. There is a chance. Yeah, I will be on TikTok in a little bit. So I will see you guys again very soon. Stay safe. And obviously, if you have any information, email me afterdarkcoffeeandcrime@mail.com. But for now, take care. Bye for now.